Are you ready for the best damn sports radio show on the planet? Man, our nation, rise up.
You don't want to be every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that thing. While I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know who's coming to the stage. Sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the court. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, then listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Starts like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're after dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches won't cut you short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzzer beaters. We coming live, all 3 speaks go.
And what is going on, Man Hour Nation? It's your boy Beastie Brandon Combs coming at you solo for a little while. Buck is running behind schedule. Nothing new there. He's always running behind schedule. His takes run behind schedule. His life runs behind schedule. That poor guy. But we're also going to have Luke G on the show tonight. We've got a great show lined up for you guys. As always, make sure if you are on YouTube or Facebook, make sure you click that like button. Make sure you share, subscribe, do all that other good stuff that helps us out, helps the show get better and better, brings you better production value, does all the things that we need to do. So, with that being said, me being solo for a little while, we do have a rundown, which we go by usually pretty well. Buck created a rundown for the show, but I'm solo. So, Alpha Rob, what's going on, buddy? I see you in the comments. Thanks for joining. And when I'm solo, I like to do what I do best. And that is, let's talk some baseball. I know we've been talking a lot of football lately, but there's some things going on in baseball, man. The collective bargaining agreement is up on December 1st. The collective bargaining agreement is not looking like it's going to be signed by either side by December 1st. So we're going to have a work stoppage in MLB. And that's not good for baseball. If this thing drags into the preseason, or even worse, into the regular season, baseball is going to lose a lot. And remember back in 1994 when they had that work stoppage and it went into the as Trent chimes in, says, haven't kept up with baseball since Chapman was on the Reds. That's been a minute, man. It's been a minute. He did come to my Cubbies and help them win the World Series in 2016, so I appreciate all that. But we're going to get to some football. Hang with me. Give me like 5-10 minutes to talk some baseball, and then we're going to get into some football for sure. But the collective bargaining agreement, if you remember 1994, when baseball had the work stoppage, and I mean, it wasn't until 98 when Sosa and McGuire with the home run chase really brought baseball back to the limelight. Baseball can't afford that again. And as much as I love the game and as much as I will always watch the game, hell, when they had that strike in 94, I watched the replacement players play. Okay? So I love this game. But there is not going to be a comeback like that for baseball again, I don't believe. I don't believe you're going to have that for the simple reason of steroids are illegal now. They test for the steroids. They don't allow you to juice like they allowed McGuire and Sosa and Bonds and all those guys to juice. So where are they going to draw this from? Where are they going to get that big comeback from? So if the owners don't believe that this is a big deal, that they need to get something signed, they need to give the players what the players are asking for, and get whatever they need to do done so that they can continue with the offseason and they can get the preseason started on time. I mean, it's just got to happen. Baseball can't handle another work stoppage. Not during the season. If you want to take 30 days off during the offseason, nobody will bat an eye. But if this lingers into the season, you're in trouble. The other thing I want to talk about with baseball, Carlos Correa stirring up some feathers, man. I've got a couple friends who are Yankees fans, and they are not pleased. They are talking about Carlos Correa is like the Antichrist because Carlos Correa said that Derek Jeter did not deserve any of his gold gloves. He's not wrong, people. He's not wrong. Derek Jeter didn't deserve any of his gold gloves. Derek Jeter didn't get to very many balls that were 5 feet away from him because he didn't put his body on the line. He didn't do the things he needed to do to get to those balls. That's why guys like Nomar Garciaparra dealt with injuries, but also made a lot more errors than Derek Jeter because they got the balls that people had no business getting to. Same thing with A-Rod. When A-Rod played for the Yankees, Derek Jeter wasn't even the best shortstop on his own team. But he wouldn't give up the position. He wouldn't move over. He was not a very good defensive shortstop. So for all the people that are out there defending, how dare he talked about Derek Jeter like that? People, he's telling the truth. He's being honest. And what is wrong with being honest? What is wrong with going out there and saying, look, Derek Jeter, as great as he was, the greatest captain of all time, if I had one player to pick to lead my team for the next 20 years, I'd pick Derek Jeter. If I needed a hit in the clutch, if I needed somebody that I knew could make contact and get on base, I would take Derek Jeter. But if I need somebody that I know can get to a ball in the hole and make a crucial defensive play to stop a runner from scoring or to stop a big inning from happening, the last person I'm going to is Derek Jeter. He didn't say anything wrong. Now, what he did was take the Yankees out of the running for signing Carlos Correa. Because there's no way the Yankees are going to get him now. There's no way. That fan base would just absolutely implode right now if they still went and signed Carlos Correa. Carlos Correa will get booed every day he's in Yankee Stadium. You cannot sign Carlos Correa if you are the New York Yankees. So, all the talk and all the backing him up and say, Derek Jeter, look, Carlos Correa is right. Derek Jeter didn't earn any of his gold gloves. His name got him those gold gloves because he was Derek Jeter. He made 2 great plays in his entire career defensively, and they play him on loop on ESPN. Derek Jeter was not a great defensive player. It's okay to say that. People crucify me all the time because I say Wayne Gretzky's not the greatest hockey player of all time. He's the greatest scorer of all time. He's maybe the greatest leader of all time. He's a phenomenal passer. But he couldn't take a hit. You couldn't touch the guy. It's the same thing with Derek Jeter. Great offensive player. Great leader. Just not good defensively. And that's okay. But anyway, I know Trent doesn't want to talk about baseball. I know Alpha Rob's probably not here for the baseball talk. So we're going to move on. And we'll get to some of the stuff that is here that Buck wanted to talk about, even though he's not here yet. But he wants to talk about the Rams. And he even titled the show, The Rams Just Are Not Good. Look, San Francisco is better than what their record says. Okay? They just are. San Francisco is not a 3-5 team. They've lost to some really good teams. They've lost to the Cardinals twice already. They've lost some close games. They've dealt with some injuries. So San Francisco is not that bad of a team. And what the Rams have run into and what the Rams are doing right now is they're just in a funk. they're going to come out of it. People talked about, the Kansas City Chiefs starting out 0 whatever they started out, or 4-5 and getting there and the Chiefs. I mean, even Buck said bench Mahomes. And now we got people out here talking about, we got what is wrong with the Rams and what is wrong with Matthew Stafford. Well, people, they've lost 2 in a row. And they've lost 2 in a row to the Titans. Pretty damn good defense. And they've shown that they can play without Derrick Henry and they can win without Derrick Henry. And the Titans don't look like they're going anywhere. They're a very good team. And the San Francisco 49ers are a very good team. And that's a divisional game on the road. The Rams are going to be just fine. They're going up against another really good defense this weekend. They've got the Green Bay Packers. As much as I do not like the Green Bay Packers, as much as I don't like talking about the Green Bay Packers, their defense is top 5 in this league right now. Their defense is very stout. So if you think the Rams are going to come out of it this weekend, you might be fooling yourself. Now, maybe they do, because the Green Bay Packers have shown a propensity to not be able to score themselves. And every once in a while, that defense will give up a bunch of points. So maybe they do. But let's just say they don't. Let's say Green Bay shuts them down again. Green Bay wins this game something like 13-10. It's just a defensive, showing where the two defenses are just battling and the offenses can't figure it out, right? Because the Green Bay Packers haven't been exactly stellar offensively over the last couple of weeks either. But then they get the Jaguars. Okay? They're going to put up their 30-plus points on the Jaguars. They're the Jaguars. So you can't do it every week. You can't average 35 points in today's NFL. You just can't. The Arizona Cardinals were playing good football. The Arizona Cardinals were up there with the amount of points they were scoring. The Buffalo Bills were up there with the amount of points they were scoring. And they've had a couple of rough weeks too. Until this past week when they finally got to play a team that wasn't very good. You can do that against the teams that are very good. But when you're going up against playoff teams, when you're going up against teams that are competitive, when you're going up against teams that are in your own division, you're going to run into these snafus. You're going to run into the times where you can't score 20 points. You're going to run into the times where a good defense shuts you down and everybody else is going to be like, oh, have they figured them out? Even me. I talked about, has the entire league figured out the Kansas City Chiefs? I still believe they have. Now, they went out and they put up 41 this week. Granted, it was against the Las Vegas Raiders, who like to fool you into thinking they're a good team and then all of a sudden implode. And they did it against, a team that just is still finding themselves, still dealing with the loss of Henry Ruggs, still dealing with injuries and missing guys that they needed to be a part of this team, that they counted on to be a part of this team. So maybe that continues. Maybe it doesn't. But the Los Angeles Rams are going to be fine. The title of this show that Buck created is false. And I know he's going to come on here and he's going to ramble and he's going to be, stuttering and, the Rams are this and the Rams are. They're not. The Rams are good. They're a good football team. That defense is too good to continue losing. That offense is too good to continue only scoring 7 to 10 points in a game. They are too good. They're too talented. They're going to be just fine. What's going on, Drew? I see you in the comments. I am solo right now. I know Luke G is going to be joining us around 7:30. And then I also know that Buck should be joining the show soon. So I am solo right now, but it's all good. You can enjoy me talking to myself because kind of good at that sometimes. I mean, I've got 2 ex-wives, so I talked to myself a lot while I was married to them. Anyway, we got Trent Mason here who says, I say the Ravens will finish the season 11-6. I still think Baltimore had an off week. Yeah, I agree. And look, they've got my Bears this weekend. And my Bears are suspect. They've got a talented team too. The Bears have a talented defense. They've got a very talented quarterback. They're just very poorly coached. And, when you put a team that's very poorly coached on the field, bad things happen and they look really, really bad. But I would not be surprised to see Baltimore have another bad week against my Bears. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Justin Fields have his coming out game and have his, 400 yards passing for the first time and have his, 100 yards rushing and have a Lamar Jackson type game. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw that. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw the Bears able to contain the Baltimore Ravens. That would not shock me. So Ravens 11-6. I could see that. I mean, what are they right now? The Baltimore Ravens right now are, looking it up here. So Baltimore Ravens, I believe they're 6-3, but let me just double check here. Yeah, so the Baltimore Ravens are 6-3. So if we go to their schedule, Baltimore Ravens have the Bears this weekend in Chicago. Then they got the Browns, the Steelers, the Browns again, the Packers, the Bengals, the Rams, and God, they got a tough schedule. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. I'll say 4, maybe 5 wins for the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not gonna say that the Ravens 11-6. I'm not gonna say that's a stretch. I will say that if they finish worse than 11-6 with this schedule, that wouldn't shock me. Says I feel they will lose to the Bengals again, Packers and Rams. I can see that, but you know what else I can see? I can see them losing a game to the Cleveland Browns. A team that every single week we don't know which one is stepping on the field. Are they the Cleveland Browns that are going to come out and shell shock you? Or are they the Cleveland Browns that are going to come out and trip all over themselves? And every week we don't know which Cleveland Browns team is going to show up. So I could see them losing one to the Cleveland Browns. I could see them losing one of the 2 that they have to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Granted, the Pittsburgh Steelers just, made it so that the Lions won't go 0-17. But they didn't lose to the Lions. But I could absolutely see them losing one of those games as well. But I could also see them beating the Packers. I could also see them beating the Rams. I don't, so 11-6 is probably a good bet. But I definitely wouldn't go higher than 11 wins. I'd say 11 wins is probably their max. I would say 10. I would feel more comfortable if I'm putting my money on it with 10 than I am with 11, especially with that schedule. So it's been shown if the opposing team can stop the run, it puts Lamar into having to make a quick read, which he lacks with consistency. I don't know. Can see them losing against Chicago. I can too. That's what I'm saying. Like that Bears defense, it's a very good defense. Khalil Mack's going to be back and healthy. And, if all the stars align and Matt Nagy doesn't blow it with the play calling, I could see Justin Fields having his coming out game against the Baltimore Ravens. That defense doesn't scare me. Defense shouldn't scare anybody. So no, I think they have a chance. I think the Bears definitely have a chance this weekend. Even as a Bears fan, I'm not going to say I'm going to put my money on it. And yes, Alpha Rob, the game is in Chicago. It's at Soldier Field. This Bears team, I talked about the Cleveland Browns not knowing which team's going to show up every week. The Bears should have won last Monday night. They got hosed. I mean, the referees freaking killed. I mean, you had the one referee that hip checked the middle linebacker and decided to throw a flag and say, oh, it had nothing to do with that. It had to do with him, mocking the sidelines 30 seconds before I threw the flag. And then I didn't throw the flag till after I gave him a hip check. But then I realized that I gave him a hip check and I couldn't call that he made contact with the referee. So I had to make something up quick. It's just brutal. Officiating's been brutal. Michelle says, when are we going to the game and who are they playing? So I've got tickets. We've got tickets for January 2nd, and that is against the New York Giants. It's a game the Bears should win. However, I am not certain I'm going to go to that game because it's on January 2nd. And if it's going to be 5 degrees outside, right off the lakefront with snow blowing all over the place, my happy ass is going to sit at home in my warm house in front of my 70-inch TV, and I'm going to watch the game. Because I just don't love football like that. I love going to games. I love going to sporting events. Going to Blackhawks. Going to the second Blackhawks game of the season next week for Aubrey's birthday. She's about to be 14. And I'm excited for it. I'm excited anytime I get to go to a Cubs game or even a White Sox game. I'm excited to go to the games, Bulls game even. And I'm not a huge NBA guy. I'm starting to get back into it. I'm always excited to go to a game, but I will never, ever, ever be excited to go to an NFL game. It's just different. I don't know why. Alpha Rob says they have a shot. The Ravens should have lost in Detroit. Yeah. Detroit can say that about a few teams that have beaten them this year, though, right? Like Detroit can say that a couple times over that there are games they should have won. They should have beat Pittsburgh. That overtime was atrocious. The way they played in overtime was just a joke. The Detroit Lions should have beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Detroit does what Detroit does, and they just didn't win the game. So you're right, Alpha Rob. They do. The Bears definitely have a shot against the Ravens. Look. I'm very truthful when it comes to my teams. I'm very truthful when, it comes, like, I'm not one of those Bears fans that's going to be like, oh, they're the Bears. They're going to win. They're blah, blah, blah. No. The Bears are disappointing. The Bears are kind of laughable right now. The organization should be embarrassed. You're the Chicago freaking Bears. And the best you can do for a head coach is Matt Nagy? That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing as a Bears fan. To have to talk about them every single week. And everybody knows. Everybody can see it on the field. Everybody can see that Matt Nagy can't call plays. Everybody can see that he can't develop Justin Fields. Everybody can see that for the last 3 to 4 years, this has been a laughing stock organization, and they made the playoff 2 out of those 4 years, and they're still laughable. Even when they were making the playoffs, they were laughable. That defense has been really, really good, and they wasted it. So, look, I think the Bears are what we think they are. I think that they are a 500 type team, 9-8 type team, 8-9, somewhere around there. See, Luke G has joined me backstage, so let me go ahead and bring on Luke G. Speaking of the Detroit Lions, what's going on, Luke?
Man, what's going on, man? Listen, I walked in and heard you say what you said, and I went, okay, at least he's honest. The Lions should have won that game, and that's the truth. And it took
Yeah.
It took 2 missed kicks to be the cost of it. It's unfortunate. And I do agree with you that the Bears wasted a very good defense. I don't know how you do this. I also don't understand how you have the running backs like Montgomery and
Yeah.
you still refuse to run the ball with him.
I know. It's dude. He could be dude. He could compete with King Henry every year for a rushing title if you hand the
He
ball off to
could.
him enough.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. Like Matt Nagy is incapable of seeing the strengths of his team and playing to them, right? Like he is incapable of, like, Justin Fields. His first game, he did him no services, right? Because what did he keep doing against the Cleveland Browns, who were just, sacking him every single time he dropped back? Oh, he's like, oh, they're sacking him. Okay, let's try another 5-step drop. All right, how about this time we try a 7-step drop? Oh, my offensive line can't pass. All right, let's try 2 more 5-step drops.
Yeah.
We're not going to roll out our best playmaker in Justin Fields. We're not going to roll him out and let him do those things. We're not going to try to utilize the run game to open him up at all. We're just going to keep dropping back. Let's see what this kid can do. He hung him out to dry.
I would have never even played him, to be honest with you.
I disagree with that, though.
I'm going to tell you why. You don't have the offensive line to protect them. And you had already had Nick Foles on the roster. You brought in Andy Dalton. Let them take that beating. Let him sit and learn the basics of it from the sideline view, which is very similar to what Patrick Mahomes did. Instead, they got to a panic point, and he threw him in because I believe it's not just Matt Nagy. Y'all general manager needs prayer, and I think he was probably called in and said, "Put our rookie in." And I just feel like, whenever I watch the Bears, I go back to the times where they had Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs, they had Peanut Tillman, and they had these players that I can identify as dogs. And they go out and they do something that I think is sensible in bringing in Jay Cutler to give them a shot to do some things different, to go along with the run game of Matt Forte. And I look at this team and I'm like, it's just one bad decision after another. There's no rushing attack whatsoever. The few times that they discovered they had it, I'm like, oh, now you realize it. And it came against the Detroit Lions, where I'm like, okay, great, do it again. And it's just like, no, we're going to go for the pass. So to me, it's not just, and this, I hate to say this, but it's not even just the Bears. And it's one of the things that I was going to question tonight on my little segment, which is, at what point is enough when it comes to a head coach? Like, that was my whole thing. Like how do you measure a good head coach? And when is enough is enough? And I'm seeing coaches this year lose games, but I realized that there's a bigger problem to this, and it starts with the NFL. So, in my opinion, yeah, the Lions 2 kicks away from winning that game. Our local media and our local fan base feel that the Lions ran the ball too much that game. I think they're absolutely nuts. I do. And I think that, like the Bears, people have found a way to inject their fantasy football and Madden mentality into real football, and it don't work. It don't work at all.
Yeah, there are some head coaches out there that it's head scratching how they even got a job, right? Like how did Matt Nagy get a head coaching job? And then you look at the Lions head coach, right? This guy was talking in the preseason about bringing a live lion to practice.
Well, now he was being facetious. Being facetious.
But it's just like, but that's just stupid. Like, Like,
you know what?
You don't hear guys like Mike Ditka or like all these great coaches that you've had in the past. You don't hear them talking about stupid shit.
Now, actually, that's not true. So I want to say it was Mike Ditka. I really want to say it was Mike Ditka. I could be wrong, but I remember hearing a story where he brought in these people who were like martial arts experts and stuff, and he essentially was showing like what discipline and strong training and toughness can do to make you a better team. And so these people came in and they were showing it by letting the football players, kickers, kick them in the nuts. Like, I can't make this up. And then they were letting people punch them in the chest as hard as they could and showing like, look, my body is trained to this and so forth and so on. And so coaches do a lot of strange things. They bring people in. You go back to the time of the Falcons. Apparently MC Hammer on the sideline is a good thing, right? Like, you know, the parachute pants and the Jerry, it was ridiculous. And
they were good. They were trying to tell him you can't touch them.
Yeah, but the reality is this. Coaches do dumb things, and he was being facetious in my opinion. He was being very facetious. But the idea is when it comes to coaching, I asked myself the question, did you go into the game with the right game plan to win? I don't see this out of most of these coaches. I just don't. Like if I'm looking at the Lions game and I'm saying, what gives the Lions the best chance to beat the Steelers? I can say, okay, this is a hard question. Well, let's reverse it. What gives the Steelers the best chance to beat the Lions? If the Lions pass the ball.
Show up.
I'm gonna let you have that one. But let's be honest. It's the game plan that they're going into the building with, the right game plan. And I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that out of many of these coaches. Everybody was trying to figure out what's wrong with Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. Like,
yeah.
Like, you know, let's be honest about it. Everybody wants to talk crazy, but Mac Jones looks like the best quarterback that came out this year.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's the thing too, Luke, is that you hear a lot of, you know, well, what did the coach do on Sunday that won or lost you the game, right? And realistically, a head coach's job is Monday through Saturday, right? And then on Sunday, it's the coordinators that are usually calling the plays. It's the coordinators that are running the play. Now, the head coach's job is to get everybody ready for Sunday. The head coach's job is to make sure that he's instituted a game plan that will work. But now it's up to the coordinators and the players to execute that game plan. So I take a little less stock into on Sundays. This is why they're losing. But if you look at the game plan and the game plan's not there, or if you have a head coach who's calling the plays, Matt Nagy, and refuses to give up the play calling, Matt Nagy, that's when you start looking at how a guy is costing you games on Sunday. And you can't. That's how what Matt Nagy got when he got COVID a couple weeks back, right? The Bears were a 3-point underdog, and then as soon as the news broke that he wasn't going to be coaching them, it went to a 1.5 point. They gained points because their head coach wasn't going to be there on Sunday.
I mean, the reality is the coach's job is to see it through, and it is, you know, you don't start things and not finish them. And the reality is Matt Nagy's inability to give a play calling the problem? It could be, but the Lions head coach took over play calling, and now people are making it like it's this big thing that he took over the play calling. And what does that mean for Anthony Lynn? I said It doesn't mean anything. He's trying to do anything to interject something new into the fold. And Anthony Lynn's play calling, in my opinion, in many games can be questionable. However, I look at plays a little different. Do they work? And with Matt Nagy's inability to relinquish the play calling, many of the plays he called don't work. They're not even in the vicinity of being successful. And it's like, what was the plan behind this? Like he'll come out in the game and be like, play action, first down. You'd be like, y'all ain't ran the ball at all. Nobody's afraid of your run. That play action, nobody even bites on it. And you go to some of these other teams, if the Titans call a play action, everybody comes up. You come up, I come up, the stadium come up, the referees run up. The Bears don't do this, and he'll call some routes that I'm not even sure he understands. Like, your line is not that good for them routes to be that deep.
Right.
Like, It's the craziest thing I ever seen.
But I mean, let's take your Lions, Luke, right? Because I give you a lot of grief when you come on the show about the Lions. But let's talk about the Lions realistically. Okay, so week 1, they put up 33 against the 49ers, right? That's a very good 49ers defense, as we just saw them shut down the Rams. But they put up 33 points, and they lost 41-33. Then they got beat by the Packers, a game that, they weren't even close, and, 35-17 probably didn't even tell the tale. But then they got the Ravens, right? And Ravens kicked that. I think that ball's still floating through the air because he kicked it from so far away to win the game. Breath. Yeah, the Bears game, they were competitive for the most part. And then the Bears pulled away in the third quarter. The Vikings game, where they lost again by a heartbreaking field goal, they were in that game. That game they lost to the Rams 28-19. That was a competitive game until the end too. I mean, the Rams scored. I believe the Rams scored a garbage time touchdown.
They did.
And, then they get blown out to the Eagles, but then they tied the Steelers. So, I mean, I'm counting at least 4 games that they probably should have realistically won.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll even take it a step further. If you look at through 9 games, I think 7 were winnable. I think the first game against the 49ers was a winnable game. The first thing I noticed as a person who went to that game and looked, the 49ers by far have to be the best travel team I've ever seen in my life. That stadium was completely red. I was like, I've never seen. I was so disappointed in the Lions fan base. How many red jerseys was in there? It was nuts. And even in that game, your quarterback throws an untimely touchdown, right? That goes. Interception. He throws an untimely interception that goes for a touchdown. And if you look at that and take that away, the Lions win that game. You had enough moxie with 9 minutes left to score 20-some points. What was that in the first half? And when you look at the game against the Packers were panicked. They couldn't do much of anything. And then you talking about them hitting that 17-point streak, and then the second half, nothing. Another failed point. And then, like I said, the Ravens, the breath of God, the Vikings, another prayer. But the only 2 games where I think the Lions came in thinking that, this is going to be an easy win for us, and they got beat up in, were the Bengals and the Eagles.
Yeah.
All the other games, they showed up, came ready to play, and they're doing this with 5th and 6th cornerbacks on the roster.
And that's funny that you say that. The Lions, when they went in to play the Bengals, or when the Bengals came in to play the Lions, they were 0-5. So they shouldn't have been thinking anything was going to be an easy game for them. And then when they played the Eagles, they were 0-7. So really you would think that the Bengals don't walk in or the Lions don't walk in any game thinking, this is gonna be an easy win.
But you gotta keep in mind, look at the history just this year. When the teams were perceived to be good and they were underdogs, they played up. When they were perceived to be the favorite or that they had teams that they should beat, they played down.
Yeah. And I picked them against the Eagles. I had them in my parlay against the Eagles.
You and me both. But you know what's funny about that? And I laugh about this every single time. And I went live today, and I was having a conversation with one of my DSA members, and it blew my mind at what he said, because our fan base and our local media is talking about something that I've preached. And I think 2 weeks ago when I came on to do my segment, I talked about the importance of the run and why the run is more successful in predicting winners than it is with the passing game. And I got to tell you, our media says that the Lions made a mistake because they ran the ball too much. And the local media jumped on it and said the Lions ran the ball too much, and that's why they tied, and it was a sloppy, terrible game. The 49ers go out and do the exact same thing, but run the ball more than us and are praised for running the ball. In fact, they said it was a great game plan, whereas when the Lions ran the ball, they said it was horrible. And our fan base said, well, you can't have DeAndre Swift run the ball 33 times. That's not sustainable. But Derrick Henry has ran the ball over 33 times twice this season and did it more last year. And they continue to have success. And you just brought up that game against the Eagles. And it didn't dawn on me until you brought that game up. Because another game where they said you can't run the ball that much, that's ridiculous. And I'm thinking, you're ridiculous. Because ask me how many times did they run the ball in that game? Just ask me, sir. Just please indulge me in the Lions beat down on how many times they ran the ball that game. Just
You want me to guess?
I want you to guess. How many times do you think the Eagles ran the ball that game?
I'll say I'll go with the average here. I'll say 20.
Let's try 46.
Holy. Okay.
Let's try 46. They threw the ball 16 times and ran it 46 times. And not a singular person said that running the ball too much. But the difference is they won the game.
They won the game, yeah.
And they won it convincingly. What's even more scary is this. The Lions in that game. The Lions in that game that they lost to the Eagles. How many turnovers do you think the Lions had in that game? They lost 44-6. How many turnovers? Let's try one.
Okay.
Let's try one. And I tried that one came at the very last spot, which was a fumble, which came at the very last end that nobody gave a care about. The game was already well in hand and done.
Right.
Not a single person in the media batted an eye and said that they ran the ball too much. Not a single person said that this. And so my point.
The same thing with the Titans is nobody says that they run the ball too much. They'll be down by 14 points in the fourth quarter, and they'll hand the ball off to Derrick Henry. You know, in a 12-play drive, they'll hand the ball off to Derrick Henry 8 times, and nobody says anything about that either.
And you know what's funny? I'm finna show you another fun one, right? And the reason I'm bringing all of this up because I'm gonna get it to go back into the topic of when is enough with coaching. When does coaching become to a point where it's like, okay, this is enough. We've had enough. We've seen enough. And the answer to this is going to shock you because I realized then when enough was enough, right? Enough is enough for a coach when you have failed to understand situational football. It's the point at which you are not aware of down and distance and you make decisions that not only affect your team, but hurt them. I'll give you a perfect example. The week that the Detroit Lions played the Bears, right? The Bears ran the ball 39 times. In fact, they were praised for running the ball 39 times, and the quarterback only threw it 17 times. He even had an interception, right? But guess what the difference was in that game? They came into it with a game plan that was saying commit to the run and do anything opposite would be shameful. We're just going to run it, and we're going to run it again. And when you look at situational football in that game, it was close because people like Matt Nagy don't understand things. And I'm going to start with this game and work it back to when the Matt Patricia era happened. When Matt Nagy came into this game, there was a particular down that I had to ask myself, what the hell are you doing? Well, you may be wondering what I'm referring to. And not to rehash the whole game, but I'm referring to the second half, where they went on the 7-play drive for 60 yards, took 3 minutes off the clock, and it's all because of this stupid decision by him. On 3rd and 7, on 2nd and 6, after they literally just got a 4-yard pickup with the running back, they decide that, you know what? We're gonna just call the same play back to back. And they went for a negative yard. And they said, okay, cool. So what did they come up with? Let's try a short tight end screen on 3rd and 7. What's the point at this point? Like, what are you doing? Why call this? And I go back to another time when Matt Patricia, and I played the Lions, and Matt Patricia ended up 1-upping. The Bears had the lead, and Matt Nagy went for 2.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what did the 2-point conversion do? It's the first quarter.
Right.
Like, these coaches are costing their teams games. They're making players look bad. And on top of that, the term of enough of it is enough is starting to be played out. You have fans in Pittsburgh who are screaming, fire Mike Tomlin because they tied with the Lions. And it's ridiculous. He has never had a losing season.
Right.
He's never had a losing season.
But see, look, Luke G, I mean, I say it all the time on the show, right? Fans are stupid.
Tell me about it.
Fans are just dumb. I mean, look, and it's not all fans. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I would say probably 80% of fans are stupid. Because 80% of fans, they don't understand. For one, they don't understand the business side of the game. So they just, some of the things they say, well, you're like, well, yeah, sure. I mean, that's great, but we're not playing on the PlayStation, right? Where this is real life. Right. And then you get some fans who are just like, oh, well, I would do this and I would do that. Well, really? How many games did you play in the NFL? Or this guy sucks. Well, no, he doesn't. Because I'll tell you right now, even the guys on the practice squad are better than you are. So you've got to distinguish the difference between a stupid fan and fans that know what they talk about. You, me, Buck, well, maybe not Buck, but you and me, we know what we're talking about when we talk about our sports teams, right? Like we know what we're talking about. Like we look at things realistically. We look at things from the business side of things. We look at things from the team side of things. We look at things, with honesty. If our team is terrible, we'll tell you our team is terrible. If our team isn't going to win a game, we tell you they're not going to win the game. And we'll tell you why they won't win the game. And we'll break it down for you. But most fans are just, they're just dumb. And so I don't, the fans that are out there calling for Mike Tomlin's head just don't know football. And that's just, that's plain and simple. You're not watching the game. The fans out there, calling for bench Patrick Mahomes, they're just dumb. Why are you benching Patrick Mahomes? For what? For going to 3 straight, AFC title games, 2 straight Super Bowls, and now they had a rough start. You want to bench Patrick Mahomes as Buck throws it up there? Bench Mahomes, yeah, he started that. It never trended on Twitter. I wonder why. Like you don't do stuff like you can't say stuff like that as a fan and expect people to take you seriously. Right
at that point, at that point, I did understand why he said bench Patrick Mahomes, because at some point, and this is something that Jimmy Johnson and Bill Parcells, 2 people I respect like hell. Even Bill Walsh did this. They would take some players who were really good and you was having a bad day. They would bench you and tell you be better tomorrow.
Yeah. And I think that was yeah. And that was back then. I mean, look, it's a different era now, right? It's a different generation now. You have to handle players differently, right? Because now they got feelings and safe spaces and timeout cards and all sorts of stuff. They didn't have that back when those guys were coaching, though, right? Because back then they would have you running 3-a-day practices with no water breaks and freaking like they would run you until you basically passed out. Like that's back when people weren't all in their feelings. So you can't do that anymore now.
This is something that I wanted to bring up for next week, but I guess I'll just do it now because I think it's something that we do. I think the NFL got a problem. And I think the problem is that 17th game. I am getting the feeling that some of these teams are still treating the season like it's 16 games. Last week, there was 10 upsets. That was like the most in NFL history.
Yeah.
10 upsets. I think a lot of these teams don't care about that 17th game. I mean, they don't care that they care about the 17th game.
Well, no, because if you win the playoffs, or if you're already secured in the playoffs, it is only a 16 game season because you're not playing your starters week 17 anyway.
But it's still a division game. But overall, it looks like to me that they're running into the same problem that you see in the NBA, where this load management or people just like, let's just get in and get out of this game.
Right.
And I think the NFL don't want to believe it because they like, oh, well, we got attendance up in here and revenues is up over there. And, Packers are putting stocks up and stuff like that. But it's like, let's be honest. This stuff is occurring because teams are tired. They're like, man, look, I got 17 games. I'm not going to play hard.
It's like the Green Bay Packers, right? If you buy a house in Green Bay, Wisconsin, you're a part owner of the Packers. It's how it comes, right? Then all they're worried about is who gets the green shirt and who gets the white shirt, right? That's what the wife and husband are arguing about when they buy the house, because that's what they're buying the house for, to become a part owner of the Green Bay Packers. I think there's the Packers have like something like 30,000 owners or some shit like that. Like, it's crazy.
And now they're doing like you could only get 200 shares at $300 a pop. But I'm like. And I'm like, but they're not doing dividends or anything. And I'm gonna leave the stock.
Even Tory's got share in the Green Bay Packers. He's a part owner of the Green Bay Packers too.
I think that's dope because it holds them more accountable.
Well, kind of. I mean, it's not like the guy's done us any favors. We haven't gotten Aaron Rodgers on the show to talk about it and
this is
find out why they didn't go for it on fourth down in the NFC title game.
You gonna go over there, huh? You gonna bring that up, huh?
I wouldn't bring Aaron Rodgers on this show either, man. I would tear him apart.
Yeah, I don't think Aaron Rodgers would like me.
No. See, because you know why? Because Aaron Rodgers is a part of that new generation, right? You can't go at him. You can't come at him with truth. Because you come at him with truth, he's gonna find a way, and then he's gonna go call Joe Rogan and figure out like how he's supposed to take his pills and shit. Like that's just what Aaron Rodgers does.
Well, like I said, it's one of them. He said you soft.
We gotta bring Buck on right now.
You ready for this?
He said you soft combs. You're soft as my poop. What?
How you gonna talk about anybody being soft? You're 51 minutes late to the show.
Oh, am I late though? Am I late?
Oh, you late?
I think the show's just starting now.
Steve, so let's go, Brandon. I agree. Let's go, Brandon. Where are we going?
Yeah, are you going to sushi? Sushi sounds good.
That does sound good.
Hashtag FJB.
Spicy. Oh, come on.
Oh boy.
Hashtag shut down on YouTube. Good job.
Whatever. They suck anyway.
Buck, what's going on, brother?
Oh, nothing. Just doing some Christmas party stuff. Living the dream.
Hey,
Christmas party.
Exactly. How are we having a Christmas party in November? Exactly.
No. We don't decorate before Thanksgiving. We definitely don't do Christmas parties before Thanksgiving.
You don't know my friend. I have a friend who literally would tell you that there's only 11 months in the year. She completely skips November. She's already got the tree up, and she's literally playing Christmas music the entire time. Her ringtones, when you call, are Christmas songs. I have literally refused to call her and send her text messages so she can call me. I'm like, I'm not doing it,
dude.
You call me.
Like this is no. See, you've got to. Here's what you got to do with that, Luke. You've got to call the local psychiatric ward, and you've got to have this woman committed, because that is you've got to be crazy if you're doing that shit.
You want to know what's crazy?
What's that?
I bought a snow machine on Amazon.
What?
So I can have a white Christmas.
Yeah. Now that's crazy.
$1,200. Yeah. $1,200 is supposed to be here tomorrow. I had that thing primed. So I might have snow in my yard by Saturday. You never know, just to test it out.
That is ridiculous. Now that is crazy.
Is it ridiculous?
But yes. I gotta ask you a question.
That's ridiculous.
Yes, the lines are still 11-7. Oh, sorry.
Listen, I'll take that. I'll take all
It's not possible. They've already lost 8.
It doesn't even matter. Okay, in our world, it's all possible. Yeah. Let us have this.
Oh my God.
No, but is it just me, or does the NFL have a problem with this 17 game schedule?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So I was back office when you guys were listening, or when you guys were talking about that. Yeah, I mean, they are definitely treating this 17 game as an extra preseason game, just because I heard people say, oh, they're benching Kyler just because they can afford to lose this game. They benched Dak Prescott versus the Vikings because they could afford to lose that game, right? Yeah, so we are definitely seeing it already manifests itself if you have any type of lagging injury whatsoever. This extra game doesn't mean anything to most of the NFL, like, at all. So,
Right.
yeah, this is the NBA 2.0 come about January,
Agree.
right?
Agree.
Luke, let me ask you a question, Luke.
Yes, sir.
So we're gonna get into this subject anyway. So I might as well get into it with you on the show because I want to know your opinion on this. So we've got Wayne G, who joins the show every once in a while, and he and I had a bet before the season started. He said that the New England Patriots were going to win the East, and I laughed at him. I thought he was a damn fool. And now you've got the Buffalo Bills, who are 6-3. You got the New England Patriots, who are 6-4, and he thinks that the New England Patriots are going to be 11-6 and still win this division. Now, I told him to calm down because their wins this year are against the Jets twice, the Texans, the Panthers, the Browns, and yes, their best win of the season is against the Chargers, right? Because when they played good teams, they played the Saints, they played the Buccaneers, they played the Cowboys, they got their domes caved in. So, do you think remaining schedules: Falcons, Titans, Bills, Colts, Bills, Jaguars, Dolphins? Do you think that they're going to squeeze out 5 more wins? Do you think that the New England Patriots are going to win this division?
I do. And I became a believer. Believe it or not, at the Mac Jones first throw. I was like, oh, okay. Because not only was he drilled, I mean, but the ball was still delivered with perfect velocity and everything. And I was like, oh, okay. And I just been watching him little by little. And I'm telling you, if you look at Mac Jones, he's getting better and better and better. And in my opinion, I don't bet against Bill Belichick. I believe Bill Belichick knows what he's doing. I believe that Bill Belichick has finally got the quarterback he trusts. He tried all these other people just to get him through the season. But Mac Jones, in my opinion, is giving him what he was getting from Tom Brady. Don't lose me the game. Just be better and better and better. And when you look at the last game, 82.6% of his passes completed. You go, no big deal, right? Like you feel like it's no big deal. But when you look at games against the Chargers, where they're asking him to pass the ball a lot, and people are dropping passes and stuff like that, he methodically managed that game in such a way to where he didn't hurt his team. And the last quarterback I thought who had a similar style of that to come in, do very minimal stuff, but do enough to not lose the game while giving them a chance to win was Dak Prescott, and he has gotten better and better and better. And so, yes, I do see where New England has a unique opportunity to still win this division, because for some reason, when I'm watching Buffalo lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars, my spirit tells me something's wrong.
But that's a trap game, Rob, right? Just like the Steelers got trapped this week against the Lions, right? You see an 0-8 team, or you see a 1-7 or a 2-17 come into on the schedule. You're like, all right, cool. We got another bye week, right? And here's what I see with the Bills, and I agree with Alpha Rob here. He hasn't seen a defense in a secondary like what the Buffalo Bills have.
Go ahead and throw my comment up there though. Josh Allen hasn't seen a defense like the Patriots either.
That's look. The Patriots do have a very good defense. However, the Buffalo Bills have wins over the Kansas City Chiefs. They have win over the Washington not Redskins anymore. So they've played against some pretty damn good defenses. They played against the Titans. They played. They did lose that game, but they still put up 31 points against the Titans. So they've seen some good defenses. They didn't beat the New York Jets twice yet. They didn't beat, the Houston Texans. Well, actually they did beat the Houston Texans 40-0, by the way. But what I'm saying is that they've seen a little bit more than what the New England Patriots have seen.
Look at
the
their
Patriots
losses,
haven't seen a defense at all.
Look at their losses
this year.
Jacksonville, Tennessee, Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Right? These are inexcusable. When you went against Tennessee was not supposed to do this to you. They weren't supposed to take you
but
to
King Henry. I mean, look, he does some things. The Titans are good, man. People are sleeping on the Titans. People don't think the Titans are that good. People are sleeping on the Titans, man. The Titans. That was a 3-point game. It was 34-31. I mean, that's a tight game. Look, the loss to the Jaguars, I'll give you. Look, they lost 9-6. They did not come to play. They had a week in Jacksonville. They were probably out partying the night before, thinking they had another bye week. But that's the game you want back. Week 1 versus the Steelers. Look, crazy crap happens in week 1. And that's just one of those games. That Titans loss, that's a good loss. That's a good loss. But the Jaguars one is the one that you want back.
I'm gonna tell you why the Titans loss is not a good loss. And I'm gonna just try my best to do it as fast as possible. You literally went into the halftime up 3, came out, dropped 11 points, and still lost.
That's what the Titans do, though. I mean, that and then when they were losing to the Buffalo Bills, they just kept handing it to Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry did his thing. I mean, that's what the Titans have won a lot of games like that this year. Games like that this year.
But you can't let a team come back running the ball. This is one of the reasons why Michigan State.
That's what the Titans do, though.
But when they came back and they beat Michigan, people was looking at me like I was crazy because I'm like, that's the worst way to take an L. And
the Titans were down versus the Colts, right? They gave King Henry the ball. When they were down versus the Seahawks, they gave King Henry the ball. I remember watching that game in week 2 against the Seahawks. The Seahawks, right? Because you're in Seattle. You're in Seattle. It's one of the hardest places to play. And they're down, I believe they were down by 14 at one point in the third quarter. And they handed the ball on a 12-play drive. They handed the ball to King Henry 8 times. Like that is a team that trusts their running back more than they trust their quarterback.
Yeah, but
that is what they do.
The Bills lack any real balance. It's all the pass game with the quarterback. And when they do run the ball, it's like, oh, okay, you ran it, but that's not them. And I just if you just go through and you just look at it, just look at the schedule, right, for the Bills.
Alpha Rob, don't do that. Don't come with excuses. If Allen doesn't slip on 4th down, the Bills win. Well, if he completes a couple more passes in the second quarter and they kick a field goal, they don't lose either. Like
exactly.
There's all sorts of ifs. I mean, if freaking grasshoppers had boxing gloves, birds wouldn't mess with them in the morning. Like that's like there's ifs all over the place, right?
You said if grasshoppers had boxing gloves, birds wouldn't mess with them in the morning. I'm taking that one. I just think if you look at the remaining schedule, right? Look at the remaining schedule. How many of these games are real possible chances for a loss? Right? Like really.
For the Bills?
For the Bills.
All of them.
No, stop it.
Dude,
Are you serious?
They play New England.
They're gonna beat New England at least once. They'll probably split with New England.
Okay, they play New England. They play Tampa. They play the Colts. Yep. They play a rejuvenated Carolina team. like I don't know what's going on.
They're gonna put up. Mark my words right now. Mark it down. Write it down. They're gonna put up 35 plus points on the Colts and beat the Colts this weekend. They're going to go to New Orleans and they're gonna beat New Orleans by 2 scores. False. And then that game against the Patriots on Monday Night Football, to me, is what's going to decide the division.
They can run the ball though. Like, if you look at most of the teams they play, they can run the ball. Tampa can run the ball. Colts can run the ball.
Right, but the Steelers score at an impressive rate. The Bills score at an impressive rate. I don't they 35, 43, 40, 38, 34, and 26 before they only put up 9 points against the 6 points against the Jaguars. And then they put up 45. Like, they score at an impressive rate. They put the ball in the end zone. Now, what you're going to get into against, a team like the Patriots is you're in a defensive battle again, right? So you're probably looking at more of like a 20-17 type game. If you put up 30, you feel like you're going to beat the New England Patriots.
If you take out the runs from the quarterback, the run game for the Bills is abysmal. And if you look at all their losses, I'm telling you, they lost because they couldn't run the ball. and the other team could. In fact, they lost to the Jacksonville because
The Patriots
they couldn't
can't
run the
score
ball.
30 points in a game. They've only done
They
it
don't
twice
need
this
to.
season.
They don't need to. Like, why do they got to score 30 points? They just simply have to.
Well,
run
that's what I'm
the
saying.
ball.
I just said if you're the Buffalo Bills and you put up 30 points,
They
you
won't
feel
though.
like you're going to beat the New England Patriots.
They won't. They'll lucky score 20.
Yeah, I don't think they're
Stop,
going to
Buck.
get. I think New England is going to give them some problems. I think when you look at New England, right? Like we always want to talk about,
But Buffalo's going to give New England problems, and I trust
No,
Josh
they're not.
Allen right now. Look, I like Mac Jones. I do. I think he's going to have a good career. But the Bills are the best defense in football.
What's the highest point total that was given up by New England
This season?
Uh,
Probably versus the Cowboys.
29
Cowboys.
versus 35 versus the Cowboys. They gave up 22 to the Texans. 24
But
to the Chargers.
The highest is 35.
Yeah, 35 points.
Okay, and if you go on over there to those good old Bills, right?
Yeah,
Bills,
you mean the Bills defense that has 2 shutouts and the Patriots don't have any?
The shutouts don't mean anything to me.
Especially
Okay.
against
So you what's the highest point total that they've given up this year? Let's see, 34 to the Titans.
All right, so I'm bringing up these 2 games for a reason, right? I'm bringing up these games for 2 reasons. If you go to these games, Miami, really, Washington, really, there's nobody. Houston,
You mean the Washington team that just beat Tampa?
yeah. You mean Tampa beat themselves? But I get where you're going with this. Houston, nobody's right.
Yeah,
and yeah, they swept Miami. Barely beat them the second time, but it
they
doesn't
beat
matter.
the hell out of Kansas City in Kansas City.
Chiefs were bad then.
I mean,
Yeah, look, but Kansas City's a tough place to go play, and you could say that the Chiefs were bad then. The Chiefs are still a damn good football team.
But my point I'm trying to make to you is for every one of their great wins, there's a horrible loss. You can't say that about New England.
They've got one horrible loss.
They got more than one horrible loss. And I'll tell you what I mean. They can't lose to Pittsburgh. They can't lose to Tennessee. Who comes back running the ball? You can't
The
lose
Tennessee
those
Titans,
games.
they've done it 4 times this year.
You cannot take a loss to the Titans after you drop 38 on Kansas City. You can't do it. You can't. You're giving up all types of points. And the only teams you're blowing out are bottom-feeding teams. Like, ooh, they put 45 up against the Jets. Big deal. They put 40 against the Texans. Big whoop. They put 43 on Washington. Woohoo! Come on. Who have they played?
You know who this Buffalo
The same
teams
damn
remind
teams
me
that the
of?
Patriots have played. What are you talking about?
I'm telling you that.
Look at the
right now-
Patriots schedule and tell me. Let's go with the Patriots. Okay, you just said big whoop. Oh, they beat the Dolphins twice. All right. Well, the Patriots lost to the Dolphins. Then
Yep.
big whoop. So then the Patriots played the Jets. All right, and
Yeah,
they beat the hell out of the Jets twice. But then they
Yeah.
lost to the Saints. That's a woo, and that's not a team that's out of this world.
Nope,
And they lost
but-
to them 28-13. Then
but
they
you know the
lost to
difference?
Tampa.
You know the difference? They're doing all that with a rookie quarterback. Your team,
What
aka
did
the Buffalo
Buffalo
Bills,
what did Buffalo do to Houston? 40-0.
40 to nothing.
What did the Patriots do to Houston? They won
Hold on.
25-22.
With a rookie quarterback.
Stop. All right, but the defense didn't give up 20. The defense is not compromised. The defense is not made up of all rookies, right? And the defense is what gave up the 22 points. The Bills' defense gave up 0 points to the Texans.
We could talk about the 22 points, but what I'm trying to get you to understand is you talking about the defense giving up 22 points when you just described the Bills
Right.
scoring 40, and I'm telling you, yeah, I understand they scored 40 with a seasonal team against a bottom feeder.
All right,
But
so you're saying with a rookie quarterback versus a veteran quarterback, right? Now you're going up against we'll say the Bills and the Patriots are the 2 best defenses in the AFC. Okay, well, I'm fine with saying that because I think that they're pretty damn close. Okay, but now you've got a rookie quarterback going up against a top 2 defense versus a veteran quarterback going up against a top 2 defense.
And this is
Who are
where
you taking?
this is where I start to look at it and I say, let's be honest, he's getting better. That's the scary part. If
Of
you
course
go
he's
through,
getting better.
if you go through and you look at the thing right now with New England, what do they win streak is right now?
4 or 5 in a row. I can't remember for sure. I think it's
Who?
4.
The
Four.
Patriots?
Yeah, they win
Yeah,
streak right now is
4 in a
4.
row.
So they're already trending in the right time trending in the right direction at the right time. This is what Bill Belichick is notorious for, is getting those things happening and from that late November, December time. The only thing I'll point out to you is for every negative thing you can point out about New England early on, keep in mind there's a rookie quarterback over there trying to, get caught up to the speed. And it's looking like he's starting to hit his stride. That's all I'm pointing out.
Is he hitting his stride, or has he beaten up on some pretty bad defenses? The Jets, I mean, that's a joke. They put up 54 on the Jets. Good. The Jets defense is a joke. They beat the Panthers. Panthers defense is a joke. They beat the Browns. The Browns are every week, and I said this earlier before you came on the show, Luke, you don't know which Browns team is showing up week to week.
True.
You don't.
So-
I mean, you just
so-
don't. They're the most bipolar team in the league.
So Combs, you don't need to look at those last 4 games. You need to look what they did against a top defense in the Dallas Cowboys, a top defense in the Tampa Bay
Yeah,
Buccaneers.
they put up 29 and lost 35 to 29.
No. We're talking about the defense on the side of the ball, the defense held those teams down.
The defense did not hold the Cowboys down. The Cowboys put up 35 points.
In hindsight, yes, but it was a great defensive game by the Patriots. The Cowboys are a Super Bowl caliber team.
I don't disagree with that statement. I don't. I do disagree with that statement because the Cowboys are a playoff caliber team. They find a way to lose in the playoffs. I wouldn't say Super Bowl caliber team, playoff caliber team, and they're not better than I'd say they're the 5th best team in the NFC.
So there's a such thing in the NFL, Combs, as getting hot at the right time. The Buffalo Bills were hot earlier in the season. They were clicking on all cylinders. Since then, they had complete dog shit. Right now, the Patriots are clicking on all cylinders. They're getting hot at the right time.
Luke G. Havoc comes in and says, "Stop underestimating the Titans, Luke. They're 8-2 with the most injuries and played the hardest strength of schedule."
Hardest strength of schedule.
Well, I'm not.
They've played a really tough
underestimating
schedule of the Titans.
I'm not underestimating them, but what I'm telling you is that where there's fire, there's smoke, and right now the smoke is smoldering because they're not hot. They're not trending in the right direction. The only team they are dominating right now are bottom feeding teams who are going to be picking in the top 10 of the draft. And when you have that happening, I'm sorry, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You're not heading in the right direction. Right now, at this point, the division should have been locked up by the Bills. But what they do, they just plan around and pissing it away. And it makes no sense. And I just think that at the end of the day, as much as we would like to try to act like, oh, well, it's not this fault, it's not that fault, I'm telling you, most of what happened early on in the season for the New England Patriots can be contributed to the fact that they had a rookie quarterback who's trying to learn a new system. And they were basically moving him along slowly. He is starting to feel himself. And I'm telling you, it's been looking real strange at how he's playing this game. So
you're gonna look back at this conversation in week 15 when the Bills when the Bills have the division locked up after week 15, ahead of going to New England. You're gonna look at this and be like, man, I was wrong about the Patriots. They weren't ready yet. And look, the Patriots have a bright future. Their quarterback has a really bright. Look, I said when Mac Jones got drafted, I said if he's going to go in the first round, he needs to go to the Patriots because Bill Belichick will do wonders with Mac Jones. And I don't think Mac Jones would have been in a good situation with any other team in the league. I don't. But you're going to play with Bill Belichick, and I think he's in the right spot. But they're not. They're not. I don't even think they're going to win 11 games. I think 9 or 10. Is where you're going to find the New England Patriots at the end of the season.
Well, the best part about these kind of conversations is we still get an opportunity to see who was going to be right and who was going to be wrong. And so when that opportunity presents itself, just know I'm here for it because if you're right, I'll have no problem coming in, eating my crow. I'll eat it with pride. But if you're wrong, like I have to eat my pride.
You still haven't eaten your crow about the Lions when I said that they were going to be a 2-win team. You laughed, man. You laughed.
No.
They're 0-8-1.
Yeah, but that doesn't make that they still got a lot of games they can still win, and I don't think they're going to be a 2-win team. So that still has a chance to prove to be different, correct as well. So mathematically, I can't eat crow when it's
mathematically.
No, I'm just saying I can't eat crow when it's still games that they
You're
can
like
win.
Buck. When Buck picked them to be 11-6 and win the division, man, even when they were 0-6, he's like, all right, well, they're going to go on an 11-game win streak.
No, I'm just saying,
mathematically, I ain't dead yet.
No, I'm just saying, like, let's be honest. 3 of those games we know they literally could have won. They literally could have won it, and it took kicks, whether it be missed or made, to change the outcome of those games. They're not that far off in a lot of these games. There's only, like I said, we just talked about it earlier. There's only 2 games where you're like, yo, they didn't do much. But I'll eat my crow. I'll eat it proudly. I said that the Lions was going to beat the Bears, and I came back on and ate my crow, and I was like, yep, I was 100% wrong. Right? They definitely beat my Lions. And I said, hey, it is what it is. The Lions didn't do the game plan I thought they was going to do, but it is what it is. And I ate the crow proudly, and I'll do it again. That's
Alpha Rob says Bills defense going to make Jones look like Mike White. Don't drink that Pat's Kool-Aid. It doesn't have sugar in it.
You know, I don't need sugar. You know, when you high off life, you don't really need nothing else to go along with it. You just need a little food color. And at the end of the day,
right?
Just a little bit. But the truth is this: I just don't buy into. I don't buy into that this defense is like all world and all great. I have Lion fans to this day who have disappeared because I told them if the Lions take Ed Oliver, they will regret it. And look, you don't even hear nothing about them.
Can we flash back like 5 minutes in this conversation here when the conversation started with the Titans' strength of schedule was the toughest in the NFL? They have played 3 winning teams this year so far.
The Titans?
Yes. They played the Arizona Cardinals, which they lost. The Seahawks losing record. Colts losing record.
Right.
Jets losing records. Jaguars losing records. Bills winning record. Chiefs, they had a losing record at the time, but they're winning record now. Colts losing record. Rams winning record. Saints losing record. Congratulations on the easiest schedule in the NFL.
That's not the easiest. Stop it.
No, you guys are pumping up these Titans. Oh, they're great. They're 8-2. They played 3 teams that have.
You're going to talk about the Seahawks that have a losing schedule. First of all, they were in Seattle, always a tough place to play, and they were down and came back in that game and won that game.
Still a losing record.
The Indianapolis Colts
losing record. Need to go on. Jets losing record. Jaguars haven't won a game yet, right? What, like at that point they hadn't won a game.
And they lost that game to the Jets.
But still,
that's one of their 2 losses.
Yeah, 2 losing record Jets.
It's a bad loss. What do you? I mean, like
it's a bad schedule.
Bad losses, but they're going to beat the Texans. They're better than the Texans. They're going to beat the Patriots.
Losing record
in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that'd be a good game. Oh, losing record Jags, right? Losing record Steelers.
The Steelers, and they're going to beat the Niners. They're going to beat the Dolphins. Record. Beat the Texans.
Losing record.
This team's going to be 15-2, Buck.
All with losing record terrible. Teams. Yeah, I mean, shit.
Okay. Yeah.
When you have like five teams that actually play good ball on your schedule.
You get bitter. You get bitter when your team is horrible and not playing well. You get bitter. You're like, oh, my team's not going to be 15-2. I got to cry about it.
I mean, look, I mean, the only point he's making to you is that strength of schedule that you was talking about doesn't appear to be the reality no more. And it's one of the things where you can literally see that maybe Kansas City does take that division over. You know, who knows? Like, it's opportunities is not the same like how it used to be. And I'm telling you, some teams are starting to hit their stride right now at the perfect time. And it's going to be business as usual, where there's going to be some people who haven't done it, and we're going to have some problems. So I'm just saying.
Alpha Rob says he won't be surprised if the Pats lose to the Falcons. I'll tell you right now, if the Pats lose to the Falcons on Thursday, the division's already over.
Well, speaking of being over, Luke G's time is over here. I mean, we got to get him out of here.
Luke G's time is never over here.
We got to get him out of here.
Fuck, your time is over here.
There has been too much
I'd rather have Luke G finish the show.
We've been having too much level-headed talk. Get out of here, Luke.
Hey, listen, I appreciate you fellas, man. Like I said, if y'all want to rock with me, definitely come over to the Luke G's Field Review and check out the channel. Talk all things Detroit Lions, bring you on, talk with me. And as always, man, I talk I talk my Lions talk, but I keep it in perspective and I keep it in contextual perspective, I should say.
Hey,
so,
Luke, let me jump on the show tomorrow.
You want to get in?
Yeah, 100%.
I need you because I'm about to. I gotta. When you got Terrell Pryor calling Jared Goff terrible, it's getting bad. it's getting real bad. And I mean, this dude literally said Jared Goff is terrible, and that he and Colin Kaepernick can literally come to the Lions right now and do better than what they've seen from Jared Goff all season.
That's like when Steve Smith came out and was talking trash about, or no, he was defending Odell Beckham, and people are like, why does what Steve Smith matter? Steve Smith wasn't even relevant when he was in the NFL. Why does he think he's relevant now?
Steve Smith was a dog when he's in the NFL, but he has been saying a lot of stupid stuff lately. He even said some stupid stuff about the Lions that I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And his Odell Beckham Jr. defense was 100% a joke because I'm like, hey, when they gave him opportunities, he dropped them. So, yeah, not feeling sorry for him. So, but again, appreciate you fellas for having me on. Can't wait to do this again next Tuesday, or I'll see you tomorrow, right, Buck?
Yeah, I'll be there. Just send me the link.
100%. You gentlemen have a good night, and I am off to get myself ready for work.
All right, later, man.
Yes, sir.
Combs?
Man, always good to have Luke G on the show.
He is so level-headed. He is so level-headed.
Yeah. He came on the show. He was shocked. He came on the show, and I was actually talking with Alpha Rob, who had said something about the Lions. And I was like, look, I said, the Lions should have beat the Steelers. And that's right when Luke G chimed in. And he's like, did I just hear what I thought I just heard?
Man, my man Havoc is giving me some havoc there in the chat about my Chiefs and Titans game, man.
Yeah, he is.
That's all
right.
Playoffs,
let me forget that.
Playoffs are just around the corner, my man. What's up next, Holmes?
All right, so let's move on to the next topic here. We are going to talk about. We just talked about the Pats. We've already talked about the Titans, kind of. So let's get back into that a little bit. Titans hang on versus the Saints this weekend. Have the Titans proved they are for real? I think you've kind of already answered that. Where you stand?
Yeah, of course.
Are the Titans for real?
They are for real, as in they are going to win the AFC South, because the AFC South is the worst division in all of football, Combs, hands down. Hell, I think the Colts can win lose 2 more games, and the Titans can go 500, and that the Titans still win the division. It's basically their division to lose right now. It's the race to 10 games like at this point. But many people are saying that they've had such a tough slate of games, yada yada yada. And like what I brought up with Luke G there, in reality, they have only played 3 winning teams. So when they played the Cardinals, I mean, you really can't chalk that up to a winning team or not. Granted, the Cardinals are probably one of the best teams in football right now. So, I mean, you definitely got to mark that up there. But the other only winning teams that they have played are the Rams and the Bills. So, I mean, 3 winning teams that you have played, and you're saying that you had the toughest schedule and you're the best team. No, there are 3 teams better than you right now, and that's the Cardinals, Packers, and the Cowboys. Hell, I wouldn't even have the Tennessee Titans in the top 5.
But who do you feel is the best team in the league?
Who do I feel the best team in the league? The Packers. Yeah. I think the Packers are the best team, and then probably the Cardinals too. And then at number 3, you have the Buffalo Bills. Yes, they've been kind of sputtering as of late, but I still think they're there.
So come with me here, okay? You talked about the Titans and not playing a tough schedule and only having wins against, very, very few wins against teams that are above 500. All right. So let's count the Packers wins and losses. So they lost to the Saints, right? Team with a losing record. They lost 38-3, by the way.
Ugly loss.
Yep. Then they beat the Lions, obviously a losing record.
Well,
they beat the 49ers, losing record. They beat the Steelers, losing record. They beat the Bengals. I believe the Bengals have a losing record now, right?
I think they're 5-4. I'm not for sure. I have to look at that.
So
but they're definitely going to have a losing record by the end of the season, at this rate.
So they beat the Bears, losing record. They beat Washington, losing record.
Right.
They beat the Cardinals, winning record. But they beat the Cardinals, who didn't have their starting quarterback or the top wide receiver.
They did have their
starting
quarterback.
And they only
Kyler
beat them
Murray
by
got
3
hurt
points.
that game, Combs.
Okay, all right. So yeah, but he got hurt in like the first quarter, Buck.
So he still started.
Oh God. All right, and they only won that game by 3, by the way. But then they lost
Without
to the
any
Chiefs.
receivers.
Then they
Without
lost to
the
the Chiefs, 13-7, and then they beat the Seahawks, losing record.
Right.
So you talk about you say the Packers are the best team in football. They've
Right.
got 2 wins versus a team with winning records.
Yep.
And only 1 if the Bengals don't have a winning record. I haven't checked the standings yet. But if the Bengals have a losing record too, they've only got 1 win versus a team with a winning record.
Yeah, but they also pass that eye test. The Packers are a complete
How do
team,
the Titans not pass the eye test?
They are not a complete team, Combs.
They are not. Of course, they're not a complete team because their best running back is hurt, and they're 2-0 without him. The heart and soul of their offense, and they're 2-0 without him.
Give it time. Let's look at the Titans' schedule moving forward. So the Bengals are 5-4 right now, by the way. So they do have a winning record, but that's here and there. They're falling off the cliff fast. So the Titans, their schedule moving forward, that's still the Bengals. Pull up the Titans. Come on. There it is, Titans. So this week they play the Texans at home. Texans always play every division team well. So this is no gimme game by any means whatsoever, but I'm going to give them the win. So, and then I have them losing to the Patriots. I'm going to have the Jaguars beating them as well. They're going to lose to the Steelers, lose to the 49ers. 49ers looked really good on Monday night, by the way. They'll beat Miami, and then they'll beat Houston. So they will have 11 wins. They will have a third seed in the AFC.
What I'm getting to, for one, this has been a crazy NFL season, right? Like your sister here chimed in and she said the same thing. She said the NFL season has been crazy. What good team hasn't lost to a terrible team or a team with a losing record? And I agree with that.
That's facts, yeah.
But in the NFL, you beat who's in front of you. You beat the team. You don't beat their schedule. You beat who's in front of you. And you can't control whether or not a team has a winning or losing record. So you go out there and you play your game and you beat the team that is put in front of you. Okay, so I bet you if we looked at the team with the toughest schedule, by how many teams they've played with winning records, I bet you that team is a losing team. I bet you they don't even have it. You can't decipher who the best team is based off of whether or not the teams that they play against are have the better win-loss record.
Right.
Okay. You look at places like when you go into Seattle and you win a game, even though the Seattle Seahawks haven't proven to be very good this year, they're the Seattle Seahawks, and that's still a very tough stadium to go in. When you beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City, that's a tough place to go play, and that's a tough place to go win, no matter what their record says that they are.
Okay. How about this, Combs? So I just pulled up the NFL strength of schedule here. So this is judging by winning percentage of the opponents. Okay, so who do you think has the toughest schedule this year so far?
The Lions.
The Lions are actually number 8, so they are up there. The Pittsburgh Steelers are number 1. Guess where the Tennessee Titans land, Combs?
Do the Pittsburgh Steelers have a winning record?
I think they're 5-4 as well, aren't they?
That's my okay. So they're 5-4, but that's my point.
Right.
You go by the winning percentage, and you're probably not going to pull out a good team. Where's the first good? Who's number 2?
Baltimore.
Okay, they're
Kansas
6-3, and then Kansas City, they're 5-4.
And you had the Browns, Bengals,
then you got the
Raiders, and Rams.
Yeah, so one winning record out of all of those that you just mentioned.
Wait, the Baltimore
No.
6-3.
I'm talking
Kansas
about
City
out of those last few that you just mentioned. There was only one. So you got the Ravens, the Chiefs.
Actually, Combs, all the teams in the top 10 right now are winning records or above 500, except for the Detroit Lions.
Your Steelers are 4-4-1, so they don't have a winning record.
It's still I said they're 500 or above. The Detroit Lions are the only team in the top 10 strength of schedule that are not a winning record 500 or above. Where do you think the Titans land on this strength of schedule here?
I don't know.
They are dead last, 32.
Where do the Green Bay Packers land?
The Green Bay Packers, they are 28th.
All right, and that's your best team in the league, you said.
How
So
about this?
that's what I'm saying. Where do the
where's
Arizona
the Arizona
Cardinals
Cardinals? They're the 30th.
Yeah. So, but look at because you're going by that. Look at the Arizona Cardinals beat Tennessee in Tennessee, right?
Right.
Then they beat the Vikings. They beat
No,
the Jaguars.
No. It was at home, right? The Arizona Cardinals played at home versus the Titans.
No, it was at Tennessee.
Was it?
Week 1 was at Tennessee. They
Okay,
beat Tennessee,
yep,
and they beat them good, 38-13.
Yep.
Then they beat the Vikings in a close one. Then they beat the Jaguars. You should beat the Jaguars. But then they went into LA and they smacked down LA. Then they beat the Niners. Okay, tough. It's a divisional game, but you go by their record, and it's not a tough one. But we just saw what the Niners did to the Rams.
Yeah.
Right? So then they went into Cleveland, another place that's a tough place to play.
I feel like when you have a divisional game, you got to add at least 100 winning percentage points on that.
Right.
Like on that record.
And then you go to Cleveland, another tough place to play, but the Cleveland Browns, what we talked about as a team, we don't know what's showing up every week. Then they beat the Texans. You should beat them. They lost to the Green Bay Packers by 3 points. They beat San Francisco in San Francisco, a team that just came out last night and shut down the LA Rams. And then, or I'm sorry, not the Rams, but the 49ers just beat, who'd they beat last night?
The Rams.
Was it the Rams? It was the Rams.
Yeah.
All right.
Rams 49ers last night. Yep.
And then they come out and they lose 34-10 to the Panthers. They're missing their quarterback. They're missing their top wide receiver. So look, this team is good. You can talk about the strengths of schedule all you want, but I just listed all, like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games versus teams with winning record or inside the division. Like, I mean, that's, you beat who's in front of you. You can't worry about what their record is. You can't worry about strength of schedule. This isn't college. There's no rankings. There's no polls.
Yeah, but there is, because we have Graham on tomorrow with our NFL power rankings.
Right, but and then he's probably going to have the Buffalo Bills at 1 and everybody else at 32 because that's what he does.
Which is right.
You just said they weren't even going to win their division.
Did I say that?
Should the Patriots be at number 1?
Patriots? No. As far as power rankings?
Yeah.
No, they're at least a top 10 team, though, I think.
I would think so, too. They got to be a top 10 team.
I mean, well, they might squeak into the top 10. I mean, honestly, I would probably have the Bills around 5 to 6 range, and then the Patriots probably at 10. Chiefs probably at like 14, 13.
Says you're looking at the wrong statistics. The media said the Titans have the hardest strength of schedule so far, but the easiest remaining. Yeah, they do have the easiest schedule remaining. That Titans schedule is ridiculously weak coming down the back stretch. Okay. They're going to win a bunch of games, and they don't even need to start any of their starters in these games.
Right, Havoc, you are correct. Like, the title of this article is remaining to a 2021 NFL strength schedule. You are absolutely right. My fault.
Yeah. So
my bad.
Danielle comes in and says Titans are good, but I don't think they can go the long haul this year. I'm waiting for their downfall too, Danielle. I think that at some point, because you have to lean on Ryan Tannehill now, at some point that's going to blow up in your face. At some point, he's got to return to being Ryan Tannehill, right?
Yeah, well, hang on, pause though. Ever since Ryan Tannehill has taken over the starting job in Tennessee, he has kind of been like Derek Carr. He's been sneakily getting better.
But that's because he's
better
had King
each
Henry
every year. Right.
That makes it infinitely better to be infinitely easier to be a better quarterback.
You are absolutely right. So with that being said, do the Titans have to rely on Ryan Tannehill, or are they going to rely on AP? And does AP take them as far as they go, or is it actually Ryan Tannehill? And I think they are going to rely on AP way too much, and that's going to be the ultimate demise of that team.
Yeah. I mean, look, when you got a guy that can run for 2,000 yards a season, it makes it easier to be a quarterback. And then when all of a sudden you lose that, it's going to make it infinitely harder. And, the team's rallied around him. And Havoc says that the Titans are going to have Henry back. I haven't seen any reports that said Henry's coming back. Have you?
So I did hear he was out 6 to 8 weeks, and I believe the 8 weeks was like week 16, week 17.
Okay.
So in theory, he could be back for the playoffs.
Well, that's huge.
Well, is it huge? Is a
Yes.
rusty King Henry better than a AP that's had
You say
8
rusty
games?
King Henry. I say a King Henry that's been overused for 3 years and is now going to come back rested. That's a scary thought heading into the playoffs.
No. There is such thing as too much rest. We saw it
Have
with
you
Dak.
seen this guy's work ethic? Do you really think he's resting? Once
He
he's
has
ready
to
to
be-
start warming up again,
He has to be resting. He's like
but once
walking around in a
he's-
cast, isn't he?
Once he's ready to start warming up again, you don't think he's going to be ready to go come game time? Once they give him the all clear, he's going to be ready. This guy's work ethic is ridiculous. His workout regimen is insane.
So there is such thing as working too hard before you're healed, right? And maybe he could re-enter that during the rehab process too.
Well, sure.
I'm not saying he will, and I'm not questioning his work ethic whatsoever. I've seen his body. I've seen him do the sled pulls like up the hill. I mean, he is a freak of nature, no doubt in my mind. But he broke his foot, right, or something, or like what exactly happened? Because I know he had surgery
the
on
Liz
it.
Frank injury or whatever they call it.
I'd have no idea what
something
you're talking
with
about.
the arch of the heel or something. I don't know, but it's
okay.
It's a rough injury, especially for a running back. I mean,
Yeah.
you need your feet.
Well, yeah. So let's say in theory he comes back and he is 100% healthy, right? He has had the 8 weeks off. Let's say 9 weeks off. Let's say they have the first round bye. He has 9 weeks off, but he has not hit anybody since that foot arch of the heel has been repaired. Most of the time, when you come back from like an ACL or MCL tear, the body itself is healed. It is your mind that's not healed. Do you think his mind will be healed enough to play the way we are used to seeing Derrick Henry play the last 2 seasons? I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think that if you get King Henry back before the playoffs, that's just a good. I don't see any scenario where that's a bad thing.
If you get him back week 16, I think you have to give him the CMC treatment from last week. You give him like 40% of the snaps like week 16, week 17, you wrap him up like 60, 70%, and then maybe that first week of the playoff games, he is ready to go 100%. But
yeah.
I just don't see him being that effective after missing 8 or 9 weeks in the regular season and coming back just for the playoff games. Like I don't see it. Just because there is such thing as clicking with your teammates too, right? I mean,
yeah.
So,
yeah, for sure. All right, so let's move on here. Baker Mayfield, we've talked about the Cleveland Browns, has been polar opposites this season.
Yeah.
Is he the answer for Cleveland?
So I'm going to take a page out of Wayne G's book here. Wayne G said he is a perfect placeholder quarterback, meaning he will never sign that 10-year, $100 million deal, right? He is a great placeholder for your team to be 8-8, 9-8, 8-9, right? He will be that average quarterback, much like Andy Dalton was for the Cincinnati Bengals. He will not win you games, but he will not lose you games either. So with that being said, is he the long-term answer in Cleveland? I'm going to renege on everything that I just said. He is the long-term answer in Cleveland if they revert back to their ways what they were doing earlier in the season. What were they doing earlier in the season, Combs? They had a 1-2 punch with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. They were running the ball down people's throats. They were only throwing the ball, like 20, 25 times a game. And like they were a well-balanced, well-oiled machine. If you're going to ask Baker to throw the ball 40, 50 times in a game, no, he is not that guy. He is that guy to Tom Brady you, right? He is going to slant you to death and then hand the ball off to like Chubb. So if what's the coach's name? Kevin Stefanski, right? If Kevin Stefanski goes back to what he was doing earlier in the season, yeah, he is the answer. But what they did last week and the week before that, hell no, Baker Mayfield is not the answer at all.
Yeah, look, the Cleveland Browns are just we've said it before, they're just a bipolar team. You don't know which one is coming out week to week. Right. Look, Baker Mayfield has completed 65% of his passes this year, but he's only thrown for 9 touchdowns. in 9 games. That's 1 touchdown per game. And he hasn't even hit 2,000 yards yet. Like that's not good. That's not good numbers. That's not something that you need from a guy you're about to give a 6 or 7 year extension to. But I think you have to look at what they're doing. I think you have to look at the game planning. Like, what is the play calling like? Like, you've got guys, you've got Nick Chubb and you've got Kareem Hunt running the ball. You've almost got to use them like the Titans use Derrick Henry, right? You've got to run the ball 40 times a game and pass the ball only 20 times a game. You've got to use it a little bit differently. And you can't even, defend the Cleveland Browns by saying that they've played some tough defenses this year. Look, they have. Yeah. They played the Chiefs, but they beat the Chiefs. They lost to the Chiefs.
They lost to the Chiefs.
They played the Chiefs, and they played the Chiefs tough.
Yeah.
But then they had the Texans and the Bears and the Vikings, and they won those games. And they were in LA, and they lost to the Chargers. Then they lost to the Arizona Cardinals, a very good defense. Maybe one of the best defenses in the league. Then you lose to the Broncos, very good defense. Then you lose to you beat the Broncos, I'm sorry, very good defense. You lose to the Steelers, not so good defense. You beat the Bengals handily. Then you play a top 5 defense in the league in the New England Patriots, and you lose 45-7.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to beat defenses like this. What are you going to do after you play the Lions this week, and you should win that game? What are you going to do when you have to play the Ravens back-to-back? And that's where they might, if they lose to the Lions this week, they're in real trouble. Because are they looking past the Lions to their back-to-back against the Baltimore Ravens, which could decide the division if they beat the Lions and then sweep the Baltimore Ravens? You know what I mean? So the Cleveland Browns are just, they're not there. And I don't know if Baker Mayfield's the answer, but you're going to know by the end of the year whether or not he's the answer.
So I can't remember who we were talking to. Maybe it was Kev. Maybe I think yesterday he said I forget the context of the conversation, but it was basically was saying it was with the Carolina Panthers when they cut Cam, right? He was saying they cut Cam, but they never had a plan of what to do past that point, right? So it is almost as if the Cleveland Browns don't have a plan what to do from week to week to week. Like they're kind of like rolling dice and there's a 6 and a 5. We're going to pass the ball 65 times. It's just like, so like they don't have any rhyme or so. Like once he starts to like gain some type of traction one way or the other, it's like Kevin Stefanski gets bored. He's like, well, let's pass the ball now. Like it just something doesn't make
Havoc
sense.
Says the Browns' big problem is a defensive coordinator. Dude just refused to make any adjustments against the Patriots.
So me as a defensive coordinator myself, I have taken a ass kicking when it's been 40-0 at like halftime, right? There are just sometimes you just want to keep the cards close to your vest and not make any adjustments and simply just play base. Just because like when you want to play base or just play zone or just play man, it is trying to gain the confidence back of the players like, hey, our system base works, so when we play the Patriots in the playoffs, we'll have this and this and this against them. We don't want to show them that. Maybe that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, that's not... He says they pretended to be in man, but still played zone all game. McDaniels didn't fall for it at all.
That's not McDaniels falling for it. That's Mac Jones just being a smart NFL quarterback.
Okay, I mean, I could buy that.
Yeah,
I could. I like Daniel Jones. I'm not against Daniel Jones, but
Mac Jones
or Mac Jones, I should say. Daniel Jones, Mac Jones,
Jonesies.
Yeah,
keep it up with them
Indiana
all, right?
Jones. I don't really care, But no, I'm not against Mac Jones. I think he's a good quarterback, a smart quarterback. But look, Josh McDaniels is one of the smartest offensive coordinators in the league. So maybe he's in Mac Jones' ear saying, "Hey, look, they look like they're a man, but I promise you, they're staying in zone."
So
And
a wise man once
makes Mac
said,
Jones look a little bit smarter than what he might be.
a wise man once said, you can be the best coach ever, but your players still got to perform.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But look, it's like we said with the Houston Astros, right? It's a little bit easier to hit the fastball when you know it's coming.
Yeah, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe the microphones to the helmet's cut off with 10 seconds left to go in the play clock, if I'm not mistaken.
15
It could
seconds.
be 15
But
seconds, okay.
It doesn't matter when you're able to tell your quarterback, hey, look, they're gonna play zone, but they're gonna look like they're in man.
Okay.
Do your thing.
Yeah. I will give you that, yes.
So
Very,
that's
very
what I'm
smart
saying.
offensive coordinator, yes.
It's he is. I mean, he's a damn genius. But look, Mac Jones is in a very good situation. Mac Jones can do what he can do. Baker Mayfield, he's in a very different situation. And so let me ask you this: we look at, and we're gonna get out of here after we talk about this, but you have Mac Jones, or I'm sorry, you have Baker Mayfield right now.
Okay.
Let's say this offseason, because there's been a lot of rumors the last couple of off seasons that the Seattle Seahawks are going to offload Russell Wilson. If the Cleveland Browns make that trade and they say, hey, we'll give you Baker plus, whatever, a draft pick or whatever the case is, you give us Russell Wilson, are the Cleveland Browns a Super Bowl contender?
With the team currently constructed with Russell Wilson as the quarterback, oh yeah, 100%. The Cleveland Browns would have to be the odd-out favorite in the AFC to go to Super Bowl instantly because they do have that receiving threat in Landry Jones, and then the tight end, his name I always forget their tight end's name, but he's pretty good. You also have that 1-2 punch in the running game with Hunt and Chubb as well, and also when the defense is able to not play from behind and play ahead, you're able to pen your ears back and get pressure on the quarterback, and your defense looks like they're having fun. Why did the 49ers play so well last night? Because they were playing ahead and they were having fun. So when you are playing ahead, 14-0, 21-0, the defense is having fun. They pen their ears back, and they're a lot better team. Looked back the first couple weeks of the season. Russell Wilson to Cleveland Browns, Combs, heart hands down, Super Bowl favorite in the AFC. Do they win it? I don't know. It depends on who they play, like how the matchup would go. But if they were to play any team but like the Cowboys, Bucks, Packers, and let's say I want to throw another AFC team out there. NFC team. I don't want to say it said the Cardinals, but
the
let's say the
Seahawks are
Cardinals.
3-6 right now.
Right. Russell Wilson also missed 4 games too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So man, this is a tough question. Especially since Russell Wilson tends to disappear in the second half of seasons, right? We've said that. Right. We said that last year. Did it the year before that as well. I don't know that they are better with Russell Wilson. I don't know that they are. I think that they're better with a better offensive coordinator. And I know Danielle chimes in and says Russ isn't going to Cleveland. I know that. I mean, I'm not saying that he is. I was just throwing out a hypothetical out there. Because we've got a guy in Russell Wilson who's always talking about getting traded. And I just don't know that he makes Cleveland that much better than they already are. I mean, you're not getting Patty Mahomes. You're not getting Tom Brady. You're getting Russell Wilson. And I just don't know. I guess, look, you give Russell Wilson, Nick Chubb, and Kareem Hunt a healthy Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. You give him Jarvis Landry. You give him, an okay offensive line. The Browns don't have a crazy good offensive line, but they're okay.
Right.
Maybe they're a little bit better than they are with Baker because you get more consistent play out of Russell Wilson.
How about this? What if on the flip side of that, instead of them trading Baker, they send a Kareem Hunt or a Nick Chubb to Seattle to team up with Carson. What's his name? Chris Carson, right? Are they ultimately then a Super Bowl team? Because the Seahawks defense isn't bad, right? They have a Pro Bowler level on each level. They have DK, they have Tyler Lockett, and they have a two-headed monster in the backfield there. That seems like a match made in heaven.
Yeah. Man. Look, the Browns are good. Is it the inconsistent play of Baker Mayfield that is costing them and that is slowing them down? So I guess that's the question to it. Like you've got to get a quarterback in there that you can get more consistent play, right? Because we're not asking, if you get if you replace Baker Mayfield with let's say, I'm trying to think of backups out there. Mitch Trubisky. Like you're gonna get the same inconsistent play out of a guy like Mitch Trubisky. Trevor Siemian, same thing. Inconsistent play. Who's the Seahawks backup that they oh God, yeah.
Geno Smith, right?
Geno Smith. You get inconsistent play. Like so, unless you're getting a guy who's already been a starter in this league, I don't think you're getting better than you are right now with Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's got the talent to be better than what he is. He makes some dumb decisions sometimes.
So let me ask you this question here. You are saying that he has been inconsistent, right? So looking at his stats for the last 10 weeks here, because they played 10 games, they haven't had their bye week yet. Week 1 he threw for 321, 75% completion. Week 2 he threw for 213, 91% completion. Week 3 246, and then week 5 they went through 155, which was a win. But then been a 300-yard game, 234, 225, 218. Are you looking at more consistency like in the passing game, or is it more consistency in the interceptions? Like what kind of
You're talking about his yardage now? What was his
right?
Now how many what was his completion percentage in those games?
So his lowest one was 45%. That was against the Vikings, which they did win that game. But every other game it was right around 65%. But last week he was 52% for 73 yards. Horrible. Like last week he was flat out trash, right? But other than that, he's right around the 65% Sam mark. He only has 4 interceptions on the whole season. Granted, he only has 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 touchdowns too. So, I mean, he's not being horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, you look at the QBR, I guess is maybe what I was looking at that gives him the fluctuation and the inconsistency.
I don't have his QBR pulled up online, so yeah.
I'm pulling it up right now. So he had so he went 60.2, 49.1, 40.2, 17.5, 44.1, 31.5, 55, 82.4, 32.4.
Okay, so there is your up and down, right? But is a QBR really a good stat? I mean,
well, the QBR.
How do they figure the QBR?
So the QBR is
completion plus touchdowns plus interceptions, or what? I don't want.
Right. It's a accumulation of all of his stats, and then they figure out a score based on the accumulation of all of his stats. And that's really what you're looking at, is because you look at a guy who just is up and down. Like he makes some great plays and he looks good. And then when you need him in crunch time, he throws a ball in between 3 defenders. Right. And tries to complete a pass in between 3 defenders and gets picked off, and you lose the game.
So it's Patrick Mahomes though too, right? Aaron Rodgers does the same thing.
Stop it.
So does Tom Brady, right?
Aaron Rodgers only does that in the NFC title game.
All right.
Patrick Mahomes has been to 2 straight Super Bowls. Would be 3
this year
if D Ford wasn't a scumbag.
Facts. Fuck that guy.
All right, Buck. It's time to get out of here, man.
It is.
Ready for me to send him home?
Do it, buddy.
Man Hour Nation, rise up.
Bye.